Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Building It Online podcast, a podcast all about the successes, failures, and learnings from growing businesses online.
Hey guys, today we're going to talk about our favorite marketing channels, which is a really exciting topic for Brice and I because we do digital marketing, and that's something that we have a lot of experience with.
We geek out about this stuff all the time.
Yeah. So we try and not just talk about marketing here, but more developing businesses online because that's who we work with. But again, this is a really fun topic for us. So
yeah,
Brice, you do Facebook and Google mainly?
Yeah. So, I think even just getting started, I think it's really important to have multiple marketing channels that you can get your business or brand out there on, and knowing, which ones to use where and when, and really kind of falling in love with different marketing channels that work for you, and developing enough proficiency in them, or getting the right people in place so that you can really leverage them in the right way. But
I was at a conference last week meeting with Neil Patel and Ezra Firestone, and all of them were talking about the omnichannel approach and how, there was a world once where you could pick a channel, Google ads or Facebook ads or print ads, and you could be super successful with it, and you could run from $0 to $1 million on that one channel. And nowadays that's just not the case. So picking a few that your audience reacts to and where your audience lives is crucial to the success of your business.
Definitely. But yeah, so, I spend the vast majority of my time inside of Facebook ads and Google ads, but also am really big fans of content and SEO and email marketing for different reasons. So we can talk a little bit about all of those. Mike, what about you? What are your big ones?
So I'm probably 70% Facebook, 20% Google, and then the last 10% just trickling down print, email, and slowly getting into podcasts.
This is a podcast.
As a marketing channel.
Hey.
So, yeah, but I think they're huge. And I think each of them serves a very different purpose. And for the purposes of this discussion, there are generalizations that you can make on each platform, knowing that for each industry, you could tweak those slightly.
Yep.
And by that, I mean the Facebook and Instagram side is typically a interruption-based marketing that goes into, I'm going to show you this. It's almost like a billboard for the digital space. I've explained it that way before, where you're putting an ad in front of somebody based on knowing things about them. Billboards used to work where you would put an ad in front of them, knowing their geographic region and knowing the people that were in the area. Like a college town, you would have a different billboard than a retirement community. Facebook is similar, but we know a lot more information, and it's all based on the computer, so we follow them around much more. Whereas Google is intent-based marketing. So people are searching for something, and then the ad that they're looking for answers the question of what they're searching for. Do you agree with that for the most part, Brice?
Definitely. Agree with that 100%. And it definitely creates different levels, like different quality of leads and different quality of prospects for your business, but very valuable to have them both there, because for either reason, you can rely on both of those for getting your business out there and getting it in front of the right people that need to see it.
Yeah. And I think more importantly, having them set up in a manner that they work together and they complement each other is crucial. Where if you're introducing something on Instagram and then you retarget them later on Facebook, and then you have the keywords that are around that product or in those ads that you're putting in there that they might search for, you have those keywords in Google, and then capture their intent, later down the line with Google ad is very important. Where it gets really fun for me is layering email strategies or print strategies at the same time. And I've worked with companies in the past that had very, very diverse emails that went out on a strict timeline based on user engagement. So a user would come in, they would submit their information on a landing page, they would immediately get entered into a email flow. And then that email flow would change, or would send an email with a different story in it for 20 days. And then after 20 days, they would start to sell. But what we would do is we would overlay a Facebook strategy and an Instagram strategy where the ads that they saw on Facebook for the same time period, so every day it would change, would be the same stories and the same content that they were getting in the email flow. which was extremely successful for this company.
Yeah, we do that a lot with the companies that we work on with online, as well as, when people come into a marketing funnel, start to learn about a product or service. Oftentimes they come in through like some kind of free lead magnet, they're often called, something that you give away for free in order for exchange for contact information, or a quiz, where you answer some questions and learn something special about you. And so people come in that way, and then over the next few days, they see some different messages through email. And then at the end, they'll be pitched a product. And so we'll do that same thing where we'll kind of add in some Facebook and Instagram social media advertising that matches the email marketing. So we just have multiple channels of getting someone the same message, which we have seen work really well.
Yeah. So let's go into a little bit of the cost breakdown, because we're talking about a lot of different things here in terms of Facebook, Google, SEO, content, print, email, all of that. What I've found is that the highest return on investment that you'll get is from two different sources. One is email marketing and one is conversion rate optimization. But I think that those are very misleading statistics, because conversion rate optimization is a very, not low budget, but it's a one-time cost or of infrequent cost, unlike cost per click advertising or paid advertising. And it's going to lift the results of every different channel that you're working on. So I kind of hate that statistic. Email marketing, on the other hand, you pay almost a flat rate or a per email send, which is typically much cheaper than Facebook and Google, or the pay-per-click channels, but you have to fill up that email, the email list somehow. So if you have 10 emails, it's going to be very cheap, but you don't have enough to actually do anything with, which is where the paid side comes in. Brice, this is good on the Facebook and Google side. Why don't we talk a little bit about the SEO and content and what the differences are in each of those channels?
Yeah, so I think something with SEO and content, I like to think of paid traffic and organic traffic, or SEO and content, as kind of the tortoise and the hare. The nice thing about paid traffic is you can turn it on and you can start getting results tomorrow by starting to get your ads out there and getting people to click on them and see them. Whereas with content marketing, it takes a lot longer, but you can oftentimes get much more longevity through your content, because you can write a piece of content once, you can get it ranking in Google, and that article will rank for years if you are doing the right work behind it to keep it there, so that you're constantly getting people who are coming in and going back to that intent. You've got people who are searching on Google for a solution, and then they finding your resource as the answer that's provided by Google. So oftentimes the intent is much higher, and you can see a lot better conversion rates with SEO. So while it does take longer for SEO to kick in, because you have to create a lot of content and get it to rank by doing some technical SEO work behind it and doing some link building, with paid traffic, you can do it kind of right away. But oftentimes it's really good to have a balance of the two, because then you've got content working for you long term while paid traffic is bringing in leads and sales right now. And as going into like the costs of it, you can spend a lot more time and energy getting paid to work, and you can end up spending a lot more, I find, monthly on paid, because we've got clients that are spending $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 a month profitably on paid advertising. And at that same time, they're spending a couple $1,000s a month getting content created. So, but when they're doing that, when they have both of those things going, they're building up their long-term traffic through content, and they've got a machine just cranking in leads for their business on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've had conversations with clients in the past that were starting new-ish brands. They'd been around for a couple of years, but they didn't have the momentum that some of the behemoths in the industry did. And I explained it similarly, where paid ads would get them there tomorrow, and the traffic volume and the interest that they needed tomorrow. But they needed to also work on the SEO and the content strategies so that they didn't rely on paid ads, the pay-to-play model, over the next 10 years of their company. And if they had the SEO and they had the content behind what they were doing, then they could eventually back off the throttle on the paid ads a little bit, saving them some bucks, and then rely more on the content strategies that they were using. So
yeah,
I think the print model is a weird hybrid in both of those, where print will last, depending on what it is that you're doing. It will last longer than some of the pay-per-click models, but it is also expensive and uses a lot of resources to get all of that sent out, whether you're doing magazines or brochures or flyers or print mailers, anything like that. They stick around for a little bit longer because it's not just a scroll through the newsfeed, but they also, are expensive to send out. There's postage, there's printing.
Yeah. And what have you found? I've never done any print. Did you find that it took some work to really dial in a creative that worked really well, or?
Yes. Typically, there's a big investment in testing print. And once you find once you find success, it works really well, but you have to overlay it with a good tracking mechanism. And how we did that was an omni-channel approach to print and digital, where on the printed cards, we would either drive them to a website or have a QR code, some indicator that the individual had gotten a specific card and then done a specific action. And then once we found a path or a neighborhood or an offer that was really successful, what we would do is amplify that with more specific print advertising, to the point where I was working with a real estate agent that had a technology that he could use to print a map of the actual individual's house. Since we knew where we were going to send it, we could print a map of the individual's house with a pin dropped on that house, and each postal mailer would change based on where the address that it was going to. And once we did that, and the users saw that that was actually their house, and he was not just sending a generic advertisement with a generic map on it, we found huge success. And then we were able to bring them into a group to have a conversation online, and then build up the momentum from that.
The old direct mail strategy still works.
Yep, still out there.
Awesome.
So,
well, yeah. And then, kind of the last channel that we had mentioned, or that I had mentioned, was email marketing, because, all of this paid traffic, organic traffic, what we've done to help build brands is just get all of this on an email list, because then you have an asset that you own and you can reach out to people directly and get in their inbox and have conversations with them and sell them things. So, you've got paid traffic can bring in leads quickly, but you're paying, often, daily for your advertising spend. Organic traffic, you can be bringing in leads over time. You can have articles that rank really well for really important keywords. But the goal of all that, get people on your email list. And then that's where you can have a really direct line of communication with your audience.
Yeah. And I think one thing to note that's important is there are people in the world that'll train you how to do this, or people in the world that will do this for you. But it's very important that regardless of what marketing channel you choose, you understand how to use it and the risks involved with it before you get in. I know you and I, Brice, do a lot of paid advertising, and I'm sure you hear as well, stories all the time about people that are coming to us that say, I tried it, for a month or 2 months by myself, and Google and Facebook just essentially ate, thousands of dollars of their budget and had nothing to show for it. Yep. And just sucked them dry. They had nothing left from it and nothing to show for it in terms of returns. And it is entirely possible to do that on content, on SEO, on paid ads, on email, on everything. So making sure that you have the training and or a professional that's helping you do each of these things is crucial.
Yeah.
We had in last week's interview with Pi Yoga Pants, she was talking about the benefits of Lightroom and Photoshop, and how if she would have paid for a $40 course, then she would be significantly farther in her business just by taking that simple course and figuring out how to use those programs. And it's the same thing here, where there's a lot of resources out there. Make sure that you do the research on whichever channels that you're working with.
Yeah, I think it was in Russell Brunson's .com secrets that he said really well. He was, if you're a business owner, you should probably not be the one in charge of doing all this, but you should have enough of an understanding of how they all work so that you can make sure you're hiring really good stuff. Because, if you're getting into paid advertising platforms, Facebook and Google are both designed to just eat your money unless you really know the right buttons and settings to use to prevent that from happening so that you can really run the right style campaigns. SEO and content, you could publish content for years, but unless you know some of the technical implementations of how to set them up so that they can get found and how to do some basic link building so that you can get ranked in the search engines, you're not going to get as much traffic as you could be. So all of these are kind of like 101 information on these topics. If you took a week and went and learned about SEO, you would understand everything that I just mentioned. Same thing with Facebook, same thing with Google. So it takes having a base knowledge of how these things work. But then, if you're running a brand, if you're running a business, you can you focus on the actual business running side of things, and you can hire really good people to do this for you. Or if you're talking, if you're trying to start a business and you're trying to start a service business, any one of these channels is something you could specialize in. Like this, that's what me and Mike did, like I specialize in paid advertising. Mike does the same. And we both have successful businesses doing paid advertising for people. And we can talk to you about paid advertising till your ears fall off. And we can do it for you and do a really good job. So I think depending on which way you're coming from it is how you want to approach it. But, going back to having a multi-channel approach to growing your brand is super important, especially going forward in today's environment. So finding the ones that really resonate with your audience, getting into them, understanding how they work, and then getting the right people in place to manage those for you.
Yeah. And I think along with that, having the right people in place to manage those and knowing enough about the platforms to have smart conversations around them is pick a goal. There's so many people that come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, like, I want lead conversions and I need like this return, and they're all over the place. I want 10,000 leads and I want it to be at 30 cents a piece, and I need, 5x returns on everything that I put in, and I need it tomorrow, and I have no resources to actually give, and that's a common conversation. So I think for me, or for what you were just saying, picking a goal, what is it that is your number one driver? Is it to generate leads right now so that you can then go out and contact those people and call them? Or is it to, immediately sell the product, and making sure that that's clearly communicated to the individuals that you're talking to or in your training while you're going through it? Yeah,
I think, having a North Star for what you're using these channels to do to grow your business is super important. And that's how you can determine if you're finding success or not. And then, investing the resources into getting it done and being competitive in your space. Because if you're running an e-commerce business and you look at the top of your e-commerce businesses, there's probably spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on advertising. And so dedicating the resources to, you definitely don't have to start there, but dedicating the resources to be competitive in that space so that you can have good ads, have a good person managing that, and be able to use it as a real channel to grow your business.
We were talking about that in 2 weeks ago's episode, I believe, with developing your stick with itness.
Yeah.
I think there's a stick with itness that goes into advertising. It's like, we're going to commit to this for a certain period of time, run these tests, and then based on the goal that we've set, determine whether or not that's a profitable avenue for us to continue.
Yeah, definitely. At the beginning of any advertising campaign, you're just buying data to see, what works and what doesn't. And at the beginning of SEO campaigns, you're just getting stuff out there and putting in the work so that over time you can have that organic traffic, but you don't see the results very quickly. Paid advertising is a little, paid advertising, again, like that's the hare versus the tortoise, right? So,
yeah. Cool.
All right.
Well, hopefully you guys got some value in this. If you have any questions, you can contact Brice or myself. We're available at buildingitonlinepodcast.com or buildingitonlinepodcast@gmail.com. We'll answer your questions directly.
Yeah. So if you like this episode, leave us a review on the iTunes, because that's really helpful. And check out last week's episode about standing out in a saturated market with Pi Yoga Pants. And tune in next week for another episode of Building It Online.
Thanks, guys.